That's right. This is the Pregame Engineer Tailgate Mayor Racing Podcast for Friday, October 2nd, 2015. I am Tailgate Mayor Rusty Wallace, and I'm here not only with Pregame Engineer Andrew Sherwin, but with the Frizz 11, Mrs. Tailgate Mayor, but I don't want to relegate her to that. But what's happening, man?
I think there's going to be a lot of extra laughter with the cat in the room. We have our supervisor, our producer, our chaperone, our heckler, right. and certainly your life companion with us here.
She's been fan numero uno the whole time. Serena, you want to say something?
Just hi. I'm quiet, but if you're on Periscope, you'll see me sticking up some signs. So join along.
We're back at my house again. We're Periscoping again, and we gave that whole responsibility to Serena. She's a social media master, and I'm pretty excited that she's been able to do that.
Yeah, we've got Periscope going all over the place. I'm sure there's some people that are actually on it and not just going to download this thing later. But we've got both my personal Pregame Engineer Periscope going, and we've got 5 people that are in attendance currently. Hello. Thank you. And then we also had the PETM podcast handle going on Periscope. And we appreciate anybody that's tuning in there as well.
What you drinking today, man?
Don't even ask me. You know what I'm drinking.
You must be drinking Jim Beam and I don't know, slop.
Come on, do a good commercial for the best ginger ale there is.
Rolling Rock.
That's a beer. That's a corn beer from Latrobe, Pennsylvania. So they got a free commercial there. Free plug. It's Jim Beam White Label and Red Rock Ginger Ale.
Red Rock. That was close.
I'm a Sherwin through and through. Donald, if you happen to watch this, thank you for being my dad and teaching me how to drink bourbon.
So I've got a Terrapin Crunkles.
That's awesome.
Down Under IPA.
That
South
is
Pacific
from the
style IPA.
Yeah,
that's from last week's podcast. Actually,
it is. It's from the IPA Survival Kit from Terrapin Brewery over there in Athens, Georgia, which is fantastic beer. A horrible university.
We'll lose a couple of.
Sorry. You can appreciate the passion.
That's okay. Good old fashioned hate. So we got some shout-outs this week, and it's been a couple weeks since we've used it, so here it comes.
Oh, do it.
Oh, man, I always mess it up.
Oh, that's okay. We're amateur internet radio, y'all.
Time. Where was the producer on that
one? Good grief.
Here we go.
Oh, we love the screaming goat.
Who's our shout-out, Sherwin?
Well, our shout-out is your sister has managed to recruit us a couple of listeners from halfway around the globe vacationing in Kona, Hawaii. So thank you for listening, Mr. and Mrs. Stout. We hope you are enjoying your Hawaii vacation. We hope that Stephanie is treating you as well as we know that she is. And welcome aboard.
She is a VIP concierge at its best. So I know she's doing really well.
Don't doubt that for a minute.
So we've got a couple mistakes. We haven't had a mistakes we've made in a while.
Some bleep ups.
Yeah, some bleep ups. So here comes our.
Dude's leg is still bothering him.
Yeah, dude's leg still messed up, and that probably came in a bit loud, judging by the.
There's a lot of feedback on the old. Sorry, hope we didn't bust your eardrums.
So, bleep ups is what we're calling
Pregame
now.
Engineer here to report a bleep up from last week on track configuration. I think I said that the banking at Loudon was 4 degrees at one end and 7 at the other. The reality is they're symmetrical corners, and they're progressively banked from 2 degrees just above the apron to 7 degrees on the high side.
Wow. I love me a progressive bank, too.
I do, too. But and I think where the 4 got stuck in my head is the 4 degrees is where most of the races run. If you take another look at Loudon when you can, nobody runs next to the wall. It's just there's not enough banking there to warrant taking the longest way around. Unlike some of these mile-and-a-half tracks that we'll go to. And even Dover. People are going to run pretty high at Dover, too.
So I just
You finish your Crunkles?
Yeah, I finished the Crunkles. I didn't start and finish in the last 2 minutes, but I've
that's bullish.
Actually
bull spit.
Yeah, I've got one on deck here. So this is Jim Beam Black Label, Coca-Cola, and then I ran out of that, so I used some of your Red Rock.
Cheater.
Yeah, cheating. So I don't know if you knew this. I wrote this down.
Whoa, hold on.
Okay.
What are you drinking, Serena?
Oh.
Serena's drinking.
I am drinking. I'm drinking Jack Daniel's Honey.
Oh, very
Tennessee
nice.
Honey on
Wow.
ice.
On ice.
Wow.
Rockstar.
This is why I married this woman. She's drinking Jack Daniel's on ice.
And this is why, she's kind of like my lay wife, so to speak.
I haven't bought you clothing or underwear yet, so until that happens, I'm not there yet.
Hey, you probably seen me in my underwear though,
You've
whether you
seen me
intended
once.
whether you intended for it or not. Yeah, so throwing it way back real quick, a tidbit. Tailgate mayor and pregame engineer Rusty and Andrew were actually college roommates, and Serena and Rusty were dating then. So we've known each other for probably about 15 years now.
Yeah, wow, that's a lot.
That's scary.
So
Super
2 days
scary.
ago was, I don't know, I didn't tell you this, was International Podcast Day. Was September 30th.
Wow,
So-
today is International Smile Day, so that's good
oh, wow.
too.
We're smiling, we're podcasting, everything's good. I thought there was International Drink Beer Day here, and pretty soon.
That's every day.
Oh, well, that is
I
every
mean,
day.
all of the days.
That is every day. But I thought we'd shout that out, and maybe we'll hashtag it. Serena will hashtag it.
Right
Our
now.
producer, look at that.
Hashtagging.
On
Hey,
top of it.
any amateur podcasters out there, look, just keep at it. It's fun. Treat it as a hobby. You'll enjoy it every time. And if nobody downloads it or watches it or listens to it, doesn't matter. It's just fun.
Still having fun. You got a baseball recently.
Ooh,
Now,
yeah.
we're going to talk about NASCAR here soon, but
Speaking
Sherwin-
of, did somebody hit one over the fence over there?
that was
That was
key play
earlier. Key play for the
yeah.
Bravarinos.
So once again, over at my house, we've got multiple TVs on. We got the bar going. So, but anyway, you got a baseball from Platinum Glove winner Andrelton Simmons.
Andrelton Simmons, yeah. So the Braves beat writer for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, Dave O'Brien, held a little Twitter contest asking the users asked for 4 different languages that were commonly affiliated with the island of Curacao, where Platinum Glove winner Andrelton Simmons is from. Braves just scored another run, by the way.
Did just score another run.
Good,
Some insurance
go
in the
good,
bottom of the
guys.
eighth.
And so old pregame put on the thinking cap and came up with Dutch and French and Spanish and English, and won an autographed baseball by Andrelton Simmons. And it arrived in the mail on Wednesday, and I was feeling pretty good about that.
And if you don't know enough about Andrelton Simmons, Serena's
We smiley facing?
We're
Or what?
smiley facing.
Smiley facing. Thank you.
Thank you for the 2 people staying with us.
Yeah, we
Yay.
appreciate it. It's probably us.
Yeah. So we talked about this too. Imagine trying to catch. So imagine this: the hitter, I can't even think right now. The batter hits a slow roller to shortstop. Andrelton Simmons takes off running, meets the ball halfway to the plate, picks it up, and while at full speed toward first base, chunks the ball toward you. How much do you not want to be that first baseman fixing to catch that ball?
Well, not to undercut you, but I would be even more fearful if he got a hard one hit to him and got to square up and just unleash the fury.
Yeah.
Howitzer cannon.
Maybe one of those single pumps and then, ooh.
You know, and Freddie Freeman's tough, buddy.
Yeah, tough over first base, but that's...
Woo! Yeah.
So that brings us to the big news this week.
Yeah,
so we're back on NASCAR.
Yeah, we snuck some Braves in there.
We snuck some Braves in, but it was worth it. But the big news in that, I mean, the gorilla, the 800-pound gorilla, Tony Stewart announcing.
Holy moly!
I've got sighs across the room here. Everyone's sighing. Tony Stewart retiring at the end of next season. You said something to me that was profound. I thought it was profound.
Uh-oh.
I don't know.
You
Maybe
might
I was
need to
just
remind
drinking.
me.
You told
I say
me
so many profound things.
Oh yeah. Every other word is profound. You got to remind me. No, what you told me was that this hits NASCAR harder than Jeff Gordon retiring. I don't know if you remember that.
I think so. I think so for a couple of reasons. And those reasons are he's been more relevant.
That's the word I was going to use. Relevant.
Over his career than Jeff Gordon has been during Tony's career. Tony having won 2 championships since Jeff last won one. Not only that, but Tony did something that hasn't been done since Alan Kowicki did it. And when you bring up Alan Kowicki and you say nobody's done something since he did something, then you know it's a significant event.
That's saying something.
And and that's winning a championship as an owner driver, and not just you owned a car that won, but you also drove it, and that is significant. And then if you factor in what you were saying, last year Tony's driver Kevin Harvick won, so you have an owner driver that's won in his own car and has also owned a car that has won a championship. Those are extremely significant things.
Yeah, I was way more bummed. Maybe it's because, or I say bummed, I was way more surprised. I think it's because Jeff Gordon, it felt like it's about time. Like you said, hadn't won a championship since 2002. He's always in the hunt, as he is this year. He's always
still really
up there.
Competitive.
Yeah. Who wouldn't want Jeff Gordon? And I start him routinely in the fantasy picks, so it's not like he's out of the deal. But it's hard. It's hard to think.
I agree with you 100%.
That Tony just, I don't know, maybe he feels younger. Maybe there's a lot more younger Tony fans. He's only 3 years younger than Gordon.
No, he and Jeff are the same age, I believe.
Oh, really?
I believe they're both about to be 44.
Oh, maybe you're right.
Let me look at the internet real quick.
So I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy.
I think
Tony started
the major
in NASCAR
difference
later
is Tony started in NASCAR like 6 or 7 years after Jeff did. But I mean, if you look at what he did, Tony was born in 1971. So he's May 20th. He's 44. And Jeff, I believe, is also 44.
He's looking it up. He's typing it on the internet there.
August 4th, 1971. So Jeff's actually younger than Tony by 2.5 months.
That's surprising to me. But again, it could be just because their years when they started, because Tony was over at Indy.
Yeah,
winning championships.
Jeff's first NASCAR start was when he was 20 years old. He was the first guy to really do that. I shouldn't say that. I just told you a fat lie. Ricky Rudd, the Iron Man who Jeff Gordon just replaced as the new Iron Man, was the first guy to make an impact in NASCAR as a late teenager, early 20s driver. So that's good company to be keeping.
Yeah, and somebody like Joey Logano should feel in good company in the future class.
Oh, without a doubt.
So that puts Boyer in the 14.
Right, so if you haven't heard, if y'all been hiding under a rock...
Or so maybe I just buried the lead on that one.
No, you didn't. No, that's a good lead-in, is what it is. So how perfect is it that Clint Boyer is going to get in the Bass Pro Mobile One number 14 A.J. Foyt Tony Stewart Chevrolet?
It's the best ride that he's had in a long time. Now, I say that...
It's better than Childress.
It's got to be better than MWR throwing rocket fuel and adjustable arms.
Richard Childress hasn't won a championship since like 1997.
So
best ride he's ever been in, hands down.
Yeah. And it's a multi-championship ride in terms of team.
In a team that's only, so bear with me, y'all. Haas Automation Racing started in, I believe, 1998 was the first time they ever run. I'm a NASCAR driver now, apparently. I can't speak English. The first race they ran, I believe, was in 1998. They weren't a full-time Cup Series car till maybe 04-ish. 05-ish around in there.
Who was some of their inaugural? I'm not trying to
the guys that drove that when they were a full-time Cup car was Johnny Sauter.
Okay.
And then Jeremy Mayfield was his teammate for a little while. Sauter was in I believe the 66 and Mayfield in the 70. If you go back way on back, y'all.
I didn't realize Mayfield was in.
Yeah, before he started doing meth, he was actually pretty good. Right? What?
Who? Allegedly. Braves scored again, by the way.
Yeah, I saw that. It was pretty fun. So Haas has been around, but Stuart Haas has only been around since, 2009?
Mm-hmm.
And they already have 2 Sprint Cup championships.
Yeah.
That's pretty significant when you consider the other teams that have won championships in the same time span, which were Hendrick Motorsports, who fielded their first car in 1982, and Penske, who fielded his first car in 1990 with none other than your namesake brethren,
Rusty
Wallace.
Attaboy. It wasn't the Blue Deuce at the time.
That was Midnight.
Yeah, that would have been the Midnight Black MGD.
Miller Genuine Draft, number 2.
That was as pretty a car with that Midnight Black and the yellow.
Was it a Pontiac then? It may have been a Pontiac. I believe it was because I think Rusty already had backing from Pontiac from having won the championship in the 27 Kodiak Pontiac. How about
Kodiak? That's a hell of a stat.
We always try to bring you some history here on the podcast because
as good as we know,
we're. I try not to lie to you, but I do love researching the history of NASCAR.
That puts some interesting news. Here's the thing: Boyer has to have a ride for next year.
Right, he does.
MWR's,
but we've seen this before.
Yep, we have seen this before. And
one-stop shopping.
Yeah. So Boyer needs a ride for next year, and he got one with H. Scott Motorsports. That puts somebody out at H. Scott. Who's that, Sherwin?
Well, I'm pretty sure Allgaier is the one that's going to be out the door because, they've been running 2 cars this year. They've had that 51 that Allgaier's been in, and he has ties to a sponsor. Forgive me for not remembering. Is it Grant or Gant or Stant or golly? I wish I had a brain fart there. But they've also been running the 46. It's been a white and green paint scheme a lot. That particular driver name eludes me for sure. But
there's a whole lot you don't know today.
Yeah, I've fallen down on the job quite a bit. I research all this other stuff. I'm relying on you to fill me in. But it doesn't look like Allgaier's the one that's going to get to keep his job. He looks like the one that's going to be on the outs because they're not going to run 3 cars, or at least they're posturing as such that they can't really run 3 cars. The other guy's got more money, so that's how NASCAR works.
And I'll let you fill in the details on this one, but going along with the theme of Tony Stewart retiring, what do you think he's getting into next? My thought is that he's going back to what makes him happy. We haven't really dissected this and broke it down yet so far. And it's obvious in the last couple of years with the trials and tribulation. I had told you earlier, I said, well, he almost killed himself. And it was unfortunate, but he was at the wheel of the death of another driver. Yeah. And so there's a lot in his, that's going on right now. And I don't care who you are. That's gonna mess with your head a bit. And so, what is he gonna get to? And I think it's the stuff that's gonna make him happy. Being an owner and watching his guys makes him happy. But I think even more so than that, I think we're gonna see him back at the dirt tracks, back running. Whatever he wants to run, whether it's late model, whether it's
going to be open wheel,
yeah, or whether he's over at Eldora just mowing the dirt,
Yeah, well, I think what you're going to see is, and when I think about what Tony is and what his future is beyond the race car, it is. This is maybe too cliche to say or too convenient, but This feels a lot like Richard Childress getting out of his own car and putting Dale Earnhardt in it. I'm not saying Clint Boyer is Dale Earnhardt. What I'm saying is this is the owner that recognizes that his heart, mind, and soul isn't necessarily in racing a Sprint Cup car.
But it's in racing.
Yeah. I think what you're going to see is
and it's not in the booth like Jeff Gordon or something.
No, he doesn't want to talk. He's going to be a very present owner in the Sprint Cup Series, and on the side you're going to see him race a little bit. I think you're going to see him become a tremendous promoter of dirt racing, and I would expect him to grow his dirt track footprint. He already has 2. I'm expecting him to grow that to some sort of a Tony Stewart dirt track empire. Maybe even he has aspirations of owning his own dirt series. I expect that to become one of his focuses.
That's interesting.
Yeah. He wants to own an open wheel dirt series.
Wow.
I think we're going to see that happen.
I'm all for it.
Yeah, and then
cool.
We already know that Tony is the most. He's probably the most charitable professional athlete that is currently alive.
Underscored by Brad Keselowski's blog post this week. And y'all, if you're not reading Brad Keselowski's blog, you need to go on there and read that how often does he post? It's not like he posts every week or anything.
There's no
it's
set
just whenever
schedule.
he decides.
What you got to do is you just got to follow Brad on Twitter. And here's the thing with Brad. And Kevin Harvick is similar for me. He's a guy that can piss you off and a guy you can support at the same time. And
I made no bones about that I was not a Brad Keselowski fan until I hear him talking, until I read what he has to say.
Absolutely.
He's very profound in all the stuff he's talking about.
He's probably as academic as you get for a NASCAR driver.
And post-race, when he's interviewed and stuff, I have no refute. I feel like he's always at least, I'm not going to say in the right, but he's in the same mindset that I am.
Yeah. Well, he opened his blog by saying, he didn't want his fans to think that he wasn't upset.
Braves win.
Braves win.
That's something, y'all. It's something to be celebrated if you're a Braves fan this year.
No kidding. Goodness gracious alive.
So let us have our little mini celebration.
Yeah, I mean, Cub fans have no sympathy for us. dig.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing about it is, with Brad is, he started off that blog by basically apologizing to his diehard fans because, when he did his post-race interviews, he really wasn't all that. He didn't really show a lot of, well, I'm super pissed that I got black flagged over the deal, and I don't know if I've just buried another story, but
that's all right. We'll get to it.
What he wanted to talk about was, he's like, look, man, I've been coming to Loudon now for 6 years or whatever it is, and even before when he drove for Junior in that Navy car, talking about the fans that he's met that have gone through a lot of trials and tribulation with their health. And there's this one specific fan that he is always shaking her hand and giving her an autograph at Loudon. And her mother whispered in his ear right as he leaned down to shake her hand and said, her health has taken a turn where she can't shake her hand anymore. She's not, She doesn't have that anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take this too low to too dark a place, but that struck a chord with Brad, and which is the reason why he wrote the blog, was about how celebrities and professional athletes and people that have a lot of face on the television and the media, etc., can do good things for people that are in bad situations.
Yeah.
And in that same blog, he propped up Tony Stewart as being the best there is at it.
And I think Tony goes out of his way. We talked about this last week or 2 weeks ago. Tony goes, I don't know if it's out of his way. You need to make another drink.
I know.
You were just beckoning at me to make that drink.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No, absolutely not. No, I make the drink off mic because it's more fun to me to holler from way over there.
Yeah.
You got 30 seconds of content?
Oh, yeah. I can make something happen.
Producer, keep him in line.
Hi, Serena. What should we talk about? No. So, no, and we talked about it before, and what I was trying to say, Tony, I don't know if he goes out of his way or whatever it is. I think he goes out of his way to make sure that he is not in the spotlight when he's doing these things.
He damn sure does.
That's there you go. There's
he doesn't
from
want
the
people
peanut.
to know.
Right. He genuinely doesn't want. It's not that he doesn't. I would almost liken it to myself when I think about it, in that I don't want there to be a big hoorah about nothing. And I'm no Tony Stewart, obviously. I don't have the means and the pull that he does. But I can feel where he's coming from in terms of I'm not looking for attention from the mainstream. What I think what he wants is the satisfaction of the person that he's talking to, so or helping out. If he's going to visit somebody in the hospital, he wants that person to give them a smile. If he's helping out a family like he did with the Justin Wilson family, he genuinely feels good about the thank you that he gets from those two people. He doesn't need another 500,000 people telling him how awesome he is. That's just not his style. He wants to hear that from the people who he's helping and who he's talking to. So, cheers.
No, Tony. So Tony doesn't have a wife and he doesn't have children. What he has is he has racing. He has his employees. He has his business, and he has his interaction with fans and whoever else he can interact with, and that he derives satisfaction from being someone who can help other people. I think that's as good as it gets.
Yeah. Well, satisfaction from helping other people and racing cars on his own terms, which I'm looking forward to. I'm actually looking forward to the promotion that you're talking about, the dirt tracks and stuff. We've had more fun going to dirt tracks than almost anything else. I won't say it's more fun than our NASCAR weekends that we have, but it's a different type of fun.
It's a different
and so you can
type
put it
of
on
fun.
you can put it on that same scale. So I'm looking forward to, if that gets more promotion, if that gets more visibility, then we're going to have more fun, and all the fans are going to have more fun. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I think Tony's smart enough. He's good enough at what he does and what he knows that if track promoting and supporting a racing series, if that's truly what he wants to do, which it seems like it based on everything I've read, it's a pretty good chance that's going to be successful because he's been successful at everything he's done.
So we're going to transition into, y'all, we're trying out new stuff every week, seeing what sticks. We'll see. Maybe this will stick, maybe it won't, but we want to have some fun with some stats. And we're calling this segment our
Holy
segment.
Right. So you get kind of just watch races every week and you see things happen and you don't really think about how it relates to the greater picture that is the history of NASCAR. And I know there's going to be a bunch of old school Earnhardt fans that are going to be that's kind of going to put that puzzled look on their face like, what?
And y'all just let this soak in for a second before you react, because this was profound to me.
Yeah, just hear it and think about it and then react to it. So, today's holy bleep moment in statistics is Jimmy Johnson is only 2 race wins and 1 Cup championship away from tying Dale Earnhardt Sr.
That's nuts.
And so the second half of that, the hook to that stat is, how much farther does Jimmy have to go before he's considered on a higher pedestal than Earnhardt? And I'm not talking about in your heart. I'm talking about as a racer, because I'm never going to ask diehard fans, particularly of Earnhardt, to put somebody at a higher level in your own heart and your own fandom. But at what point do we start calling Jimmy Johnson a better race car driver than Dale Earnhardt Sr.?
That hurts to think about.
Isn't that weird?
It's weird.
I mean, that's a holy bleep moment.
And not only that, but let me put it in this context too. I fully believe that I think it's universally understood that the competition that there is now today is greater than it ever was. Number one, because these cars are more restricted in terms of what they're allowed to have and how they have to be built. In other words, you're not going to see a 3-foot wing. You're not going to see a 50-foot gas line. You're not going to see.
Oh, right. You never get away from that.
Yeah,
you never get away with it.
Yeah. So
you're not going to show up with a 7/8 race car like Smokey Unique did.
yeah. And even in recent history, the T-Rex car, that's never going to happen again.
No, and the only reason why they really got away with it because it was an all-star race where they kind of opened. They used to sort of open the rule book up to, hey, try something.
Yeah,
and like we said last week, NASCAR looked up underneath that car, looked at Ray Abraham, and said, "Don't ever do that again."
Yeah. No, bad dog. So the competition now is as and so not only the car, but also the drivers. We're not talking about just taking people from a 5-state area in the Southeast anymore.
For sure.
We're talking about Casey Kane from Washington.
There are two drivers from the state
California.
of Washington. Yeah. The most populous state for NASCAR Sprint Cup drivers is California.
Yeah. We've got New York covered. We've got all across the entire spectrum.
Heck yeah, Regan Smith, love that guy.
And a lot of guys coming out of the Midwest too. From Menards and Kansas and
Keselowski.
Yeah,
got champions from the Midwest.
Yeah, multiple champions. So I think with not only the way the cars are set up now.
Kowicki was also from Wisconsin.
That's a good point. So not only the way that the car is restricted at this point, but also the level of competition nationwide that they have now.
Yes.
I think that to not only win, but also win a championship in this class of people that we have now is harder than it ever was.
Well, the driver doesn't matter quite as much as they used to, yet they do. So I know that's a contradicted statement.
You really hit a chord with me just now when you said that too, because you said it doesn't, and I go, but it does, and you said, but they do. And
so where used to where the driver made up for where the car missed out was in how they drove the car. Mm-hmm. Where the driver makes up for what the car lacks now is in how they communicate to the team to change it, to get faster, to get better, and not necessarily on the stopwatch. Because the stopwatch doesn't matter nearly as much as it used to.
Yeah. So here's what I think. I think if you put Jimmy Johnson in a car in the early 90s and he's racing in his prime against Dale Earnhardt in his prime, Dale Earnhardt wins.
And Davey Allison and Alan Kowicki and
I think
Ricky
if
Rudd.
you take all of those guys, including Dale Earnhardt, and put them in today's cars, Jimmy Johnson wins.
Well, and I don't know. I mean, I like what you're doing there.
So what?
But what I don't like is we don't know how mentally sharp a driver like Dale Earnhardt was. Maybe he could learn to drive today's car. But
maybe he could.
Maybe he could. We can't rule it out.
But what I'm saying is the cars were not. There was more leeway in the car then, and there was less competition then.
Well,
in my eyes,
well, there was way less competition.
Right,
Anybody can tell you that. Even an Earnhardt fan will tell you. And when they showed up on a racetrack week to week, there was only about 6 to 10 cars that could win.
So my only point,
regardless of that fuel mileage garbage.
I don't want to say that Jimmy Johnson is a better driver or that Dale Earnhardt is a better driver because, like I said, I
don't either.
I think if you put either one in either one's environment, the other one's going to win, if that makes sense. Whatever I just said. But I think what Jimmy Johnson has done over the last decade is more impressive, given all of the factors, than what Dale Earnhardt has accomplished.
I think even though I brought the topic up and broached it, we like laying on the sword topics because we're not going to lay on the sword. We're going to fall, and I'm going to get nerdy as hell here. We're not going to be inside the single standard deviation barrel curve. We're not going to be in the 67%. We're going to be in the 95% one side or the other just because it makes more sense to talk that way.
Our producer's got her hand
She's laughing because she knows how nerdy we are, even though we sound like a couple drunk rednecks. The thing is, what I want to try to say not to wrap it up, because I'm not going to close the floor. I want you to speak again too. I don't think you have to compare them. That's what's so weird about these eras in NASCAR that are so different. Is why do we have to compare? Why do we have to say that just because Jimmy Johnson tied Dale Earnhardt in wins or championships that somehow he is good or better? You don't have to. What you can say is, though, holy bleep, Jimmy Johnson has done some pretty impressive stuff in a stock car.
I think the holy bleep there is exactly the stats that you brought up that got us onto this conversation that has lasted the last, 8 minutes or so, where we're sitting here talking about it.
It's obviously been a good topic.
And that it's a great topic, and it's something I think if you go to the racetrack, if you're talking with your buddies, Serena's out to make another drink. Good for her. I think that's a great topic to bring up. Talk about it with your buddies. Who's better, Jimmy Johnson or Dale Earnhardt? And let me tell you guys, what's more fun than sticking with your own guns is whoever they say, take the opposite person. And
right, and if you know enough, if you've watched enough, you've taken in enough data, you can make both arguments because they never raced against each other. So because they're mutually exclusive, you can take either side. And if you're a big enough fan of the sport, you should be able to.
Yeah.
That's my argument. My argument to you, or my challenge to you as NASCAR fans, if you're still listening, is be able to make both arguments. I talk all the time about how I hate Denny Hamlin as a racer. I can't like him as a racer. I can't like Carl Edwards. Okay? But
and I love
if you ask me to make an argument on his behalf as a racer, I'm there because I watched, I've listened, I've read, I know those guys are great race car drivers. So that's what makes NASCAR so much fun is, okay, there's 43 different teams. There's probably 18 that are really good. There's probably 7 on a year-in basis that have a chance to win a championship. Know as much as you can about all of them. Right? Know that when somebody says something funny like rolling roadblock, you don't even have to know it's not Ryan Newman.
Ryan Newman. Yep, that's what I had in my mind.
So, or know that Ty Dillon is the Ryan Newman of Xfinity Racing or whatever it is that you want to know. It just, I challenge you to take in as much information as you can because I think the racing will be more fun to you, especially when you're in a moment like we are where we have our fanboy driver is outside the chase. We're not having a lot of fun watching him finish 19th every week, 2 laps down. And it changes what you watch. I still listen to him on the radio on NASCAR.com RaceView, which I can't believe I just plugged because their service is just about as garbage as it gets. I think maybe one step above Sprint, which is funny because that's top series.
Let's move on.
All right, sorry.
We're getting down to a hole.
Yeah, brain locked up a little bit.
Magic Mile. Let's talk about last week.
How about let's talk about you and I said Penske versus Gibbs, and by God.
So what did we have? We had Gibbs.
We had Gibbs, Penske. And the only reason why we didn't have Penske, Gibbs, Penske is this crazy enforcement of the restart rule.
Yeah. Let's back it up real quick. So we picked, we got to pat each other on the back or whatever's not weird. But
quit being weird, dude.
Yeah. Kansas takes a win, goes into the next round. Hamlin, who I picked in second, got second, but I'm not going to toot my own horn too much because you picked Joey and he got third. Correct. Sliced bread.
Yeah.
Hamlin, I thought he'd take 2 in a row. That was pretty impressive by us, but like you said, it was a Gibbs Penske deal.
Well, what we should have said as a lead to us talking about them last week was that if you're playing in a fantasy league, this is the one. That was the one you wanted to listen to. We were dialed in. Mm-hmm. We had Penske, Gibbs nailed to a T. So
don't listen to us this week because who knows? But
no, I'm going to get it right this week too.
Good.
Don't worry.
I've got some notes. To your point though, that brought us into why wasn't it Penske, Gibbs, Penske, and that is because the. Probably, arguably, the best car or second best car out there Brad Keselowski got the well. Tell them what happened. So
Brad drivers and fans and everybody have been bitching about this restart rule, and the reality is, had NASCAR framed up this thing the way they ought to have, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But anyway, it was brought to a lot of attention by everybody, and Brad appeared to have crossed the second restart line ahead of the leader and was immediately black flagged. And that was a huge decision by NASCAR. He ends up falling back to 12th. He was good on fuel. The end of the race didn't go green, white, checker. Brad was probably going to win the race. And his comments after the race were like, yeah, I wish I hadn't risked it the way I did, but the way that NASCAR's playing around with these restarts is, they're just making it more complicated than it needs to be.
Yeah, I went back and I'm reading all this stuff. People are saying they're watching frame by frame replays. They're watching it accordion up behind Brad Keselowski, and I'm not sure. I don't know. I went back and watched it a little bit, but I'm not going to get into frame by frame stuff here. What we really need is just something a little more, a little easier to swallow. And I think, for example, the best thing I saw, maybe it was Bob Pockers, just to give some folks some shout-outs, because I was reading some stuff everybody was saying.
Hey, Bob, we love you, man. Appreciate you talking to us at Bristol and Darlington.
Yeah, and I believe Bob was the one who brought up, we need something like the double yellow line down at Daytona and Talladega, and saying, all right, well, if you pass a guy at the start-finish, you got to let him come back, for example.
We had that already, and it worked.
Well, we had that at one point.
It worked.
Yeah, it was perfect. Well, you passed him. The spotter can come on.
The spotter go, hey, man, you got to lift.
Hey, let him go back. Let him go back. Okay, go. That can work. I think what transpired here was a matter of, I think it's gamemanship between the two guys on the front row.
One of them the row behind them too, and really, sure.
yeah, because they're pushing, and so them sandbagging a little bit or not sandbagging or whatever, and we get to the point where something like this is inevitably going to happen when the rules are not cut and dry. So I'm all for all right, well, if you pass him at the line, you have to let him back, or you get black flagged. I think just black flagging him, just saying, oh no, you took the flag, you lose, and then everybody's got to go back and they got to look at, oh well, look, it accordioned up behind, was it Biffle? And even Biffle said, I don't understand that rule. I lost it. I spun the tires, whatever it did.
Yeah. Well, and he stayed out on old. Sorry, y'all.
Tires.
Crappy old tires. I'm not a big fan of that. I apologize. So, the thing that is craziest to me about it is that we're talking about it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about it because the black flag was thrown, but it's crazy to me that we have to talk about a restart in a race. And it's like, man, if you think about all the other kinds of racing that you don't do in a car, like the gun fires and then you go. Like, I know you don't really have restarts in foot races, but it's just, it's kind of strange all the way around. I had a whole thought, and then I cussed on the podcast, and I felt bad. And
it's all right. Sorry. I've got it marked, and we'll bleep it out.
Yeah. So,
it's all good.
Help me out here.
Let's move to Dover.
Okay.
Heck with it. We'll go to Dover. So we go from the Magic Mile. We're going to the Monster Mile.
The Concrete Monster.
The Concrete Monster. One of our dearest bucket list tracks.
Dover's white. I don't want to over-exaggerate every race track because we said that Loudon was very high on our list. Dover is like, there's 3 tracks that are like 1A, 1B, 1C.
Yeah.
And Dover's in there, and I don't have to letter it because it doesn't matter. It's whatever one that makes the most sense to go to whenever we get to go to it. Dover is Bristol on steroids.
So we can get to the point later on where we complain about the chase in its current setup. I do like the 3 rounds of 3 races. I'm okay with that. We can get later.
I'm getting better with it.
Later on, I might.
Not sure how I feel about Talladega.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point that Talladega's in there. But let's talk about that one later, and also the fact that one race wins the championship. No, later.
All of it out.
For now, we have some cool dynamics going on into the third race of the first round. Number one, Jimmy Johnson owns this place, right?
By a bunch.
We're talking about Dover.
Jimmy Johnson can show his rear end to Richard Petty at this racetrack.
Yeah, and there ain't a whole lot of people who can drop trowel at Richard Petty at any racetrack. Mr. 200 wins.
Just saying.
Yeah. We have JGR and Penske.
Kind of good, especially Matt Kenseth and Brad Keselowski.
Were you talking about Kansas or
Kansas?
What was okay? Making sure. And then we also have the dynamic. Harvick has to win, and we have seen what happens when Harvick has to win before, which is Harvick wins.
Hey, I'm pretty sure last time Harvick had to win, he pretty much did.
He won.
Yeah.
So I like the dynamic that we have going into this race, and I like, to your point about Talladega, I like that it's happening at Dover and not at Talladega. Right? If this were Talladega, we'd be going, well, here goes Talladega. Maybe Justin Allgaier will win. Who knows?
If this was happening at Talladega, I would just
It'd be
punt
upsetting.
my laptop. That would be so stupid.
Yeah. But the fact that it's happening at Dover.
I mean, the fact that there is a chase race with Talladega in it makes me want to punt my laptop. Sorry, dark place.
So that
let's bring it back up. You just bring it right back up.
So I think the most important part about that is who we think we're going to win. So that brings us to our picks, and you know what happens.
Start your engine!
That's right. We got to get our engines fired up to make some picks.
We are. So let's start this race. I'm going to go. I'm going to go first because I picked the higher seeded.
You finished better than me.
Slightly.
Top three is pretty good.
I'm doing it, man. It's Kevin Harvick. Kevin Harvick is going to win this race, and he's going to get in the next round, and we're going to be talking about it next week. I'm not rooting for that, but I think that's the most exciting thing. I'm excited.
You are an a-hole.
Sorry.
Because you forced me to pick between my two. It's Brad. It's Brad. It's Brad.
Well, Brad's got something to prove. Not to prove
Ask
necessarily.
me about who else I wanted to pick.
It must have been Kevin Harvick.
No, Matt Kenseth.
Oh, Kansas.
But Brad.
Okay, you got Brad, and I got Harvick. What do you think? Okay,
no, that's going to be fun as hell, dude.
Yeah.
If Harvick would win and get in.
Yeah, and get in the next round, which is, and that's just into the next round. Now it starts over. Now it's 0.
Right, now you still got 11 other guys.
Yeah,
you gotta
get you 2 top 5s and you're in to the next one.
That's true. 2 top 5s is going to do it.
Yeah.
But you got to get them.
But you got to get there.
And one of those races.
Does second place get Harvick in? Like, what gets Harvick in?
Cusswording Dega.
Yeah. What gets Harvick in, though?
It
has to be a win.
Yep.
Got to be a win.
There's some really odd scenario.
A scenario that's not going to happen, but he's got to take the W.
Yeah, like 3 guys have to finish 43rd, which is not super likely.
Not going to happen.
Glenn Boyer has to have another illegal part.
That'll happen. So yeah, Brad K. I think he's got. I like that pick a lot too. Not just because of the pick, but because of what happened last week that we've already talked about.
Well, I think he was going to win the race last week without the black flag. So I think they're primed. I think they're tuned in. I love your pick because I do like the win and you're in scenario. And Kevin Harvick has, in fact, proved twice.
Mm-hmm.
Like 2 races in a row, he proved that. In order to make the championship round, you must win at Phoenix. Boom.
Done.
In order to win the race, you must beat the guy who finished behind you to win the championship. Done. He's 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like him, those are really fun, like, professional sports stats. Like, you had the 2 times that you needed to win to move forward or to win or whatever it is.
Yeah. So
and
I think
you did. Whoa.
earlier this week, the Hurricane Joaquin was a bigger
Joaquin.
story. Joaquin. What happened, Joaquin?
Joaquin.
Earlier this week, we were talking about Joaquin making landfall in Dover, Delaware, pretty much like where it's going.
Yeah, now they're talking about it hitting Iceland first.
yeah.
Which,
in the first landfall, they might get a little bit of
spaghetti
rain.
monster path.
So we're not as worried. We'll get some rain. It may get postponed to Monday.
Oh, we're not racing as of the current forecast.
As of the current forecast, we're not racing.
We're racing like Monday at 4 p.m.
So it was earlier this week. It was going to be part of our segment, but now I'm like, well, okay, we'll probably race Monday. So not a huge deal. I'm not seeing us skip this track at this point. Where earlier this week, I thought we were going to skip this track, and then it's going to be a whole mess.
So NASCAR, I mean, you're talking about painting yourself in a corner. They do it all the time. They've painted themselves in a corner when it comes to this whole elimination chase and weather they can't control.
Yeah.
What in the heck are you supposed to do if you can't run Dover before you're supposed to go to? Is it Degas next, or what's next? Did we look? Crap. Sorry, y'all.
We should know this. Don't worry about it.
I think it's Dega.
I think it's Dega too.
Yeah.
Which that would exactly what you were talking about.
How NASCAR.com. How Hurricane could affect Chase's Challenger round.
Wow.
I mean, duh.
Yeah. So let's see, NASCAR schedule. I'm looking it up here. Go faster. Sprint Cup Series. Charlotte, yes. Actually, Charlotte would be okay.
It's Charlotte.
That's not a big deal. All right.
But the thing is, it is a big deal if all of a sudden Charlotte becomes the elimination race for the first round.
But I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with it, but it's another one of those blips on the NASCAR.
Well, yeah, it's a little bit of a black eye. Yeah.
I mean, but NASCAR is such a different track than Charlotte.
NASCAR's a different track than Charlotte.
Oh, my goodness. Sorry, you're right. You're right to call me out. Dover. I'm still distracted from having saying the bad word for poop.
Oh, I've got it marked. We'll bleep it out. It's all good. All right.
Well, it would be okay to just go to Charlotte, but I think NASCAR is going to do everything they can. I think they would even consider racing on a Thursday night or a Thursday afternoon without lights in order to avoid the situation where you have to put Dover somewhere else.
I would hope they would. Because there's no difference between racing Monday and racing Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday. So I'm with you.
I don't think there is either. I mean, obviously, we don't face
the
the logistics from a fan perspective. It would be really interesting to see NASCAR go up against some crappy NFL game on Thursday night because they've been pretty crappy.
Yeah. So let's take this to the end, man. We're up at over 50 minutes now. Our new segment.
We got at least 7 minutes to go.
We're straight up grand thefting this segment. We've tried to repurpose other people's segments. This one is rebranding it for us. So we've got a come on man moment.
Right. So here's what I want the listeners to focus in on. See, on your Sunday morning pregame, and then they do this segment at about 12:50 p.m. right before the first game kicks off on ESPN. With I think they got Keyshawn, they got Ditka, they got Chris Carter, and they got they got Berman.
Doesn't matter. Keep going.
And they do the "Come on, man" segment because somebody does something dumb. And my "Come on, man" sounds like Louisville University basketball recruiters have been using a madam to service potential recruits.
Trying to keep it PG on the podcast.
I mean,
come on, man.
Come on, man. Like, are you kidding? Come on.
And the coach has said...
Coach has come out and said he's heartbroken over the deal. But I don't know
Come
he
on,
was
man.
all that broken-hearted
man.
when he was banging Strange on the back porch of a restaurant back in 2003.
Come on, man.
Guy, come on, man.
But I mean,
If this
we talked about it last week. How far up the chain does the cheating go? And we said it goes all the way up to Michael Waltrip. Michael Waltrip knows.
people know.
People
They
know. Coach knows.
They know.
Come on, man. Coach knows.
Hey, come on, man. You know he knows.
Yeah,
They
he
know.
knows. We know
They know.
that he knows that we know that he knows.
Almighty. All right, so we dipped down in the valley. We're coming right back up. All right, folks, I need you to celebrate, participate, and fan. Just go nuts. United States soccer team playing Mexico on October 10th in the Rose Bowl to make it to the, I can't remember, if it's International Cup or whatever it is. It's the huge tournament 2 years before the World Cup. We want to be there, and we want to beat Mexico for sure. So you guys need to be there strong.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. We'll have a podcast before then, too. Hey, we appreciate Serena helping us out. All that she's giving us a heart symbol.
I know,
This is y'all's podcast.
It's all good.
But I don't know. I expected you to talk more.
Where she's tweeting, she's doing the whole live thing. Love her, love that where she's doing this. So we're giving Serena the last word. Serena, talk to us about Tony.
Oh, I'm just sad that Tony's retiring. I can't get over this sadness. I almost cried in my margarita when I found out. I was
Which Tony do you like?
Old Tony, old Smoky Tony.
Smoke.
Oh, I like Angry Tony. I love Angry Tony.
Yeah,
that's a NASCAR passion that brought me in.
So Tony's single, and if there's one, guys, if everybody has their celebrity crush and their whatever, I'm not saying that she thinks he's the hottest one or whatever, but I could lose my wife to Tony.
Well, and the other thing is, and if you really want to get the heart pumping and the emotions brewing, go back and YouTube Tony talking to Steve Burns. Just Google Tony Stewart, Steve Burns. You'll get a great interview from both guys. Tony was extremely respectful, even while he was super pissed. And then you get to sort of remember Steve Burns. God bless you, Steve Burns.
Yeah, so, yes, absolutely. So, let's close this thing out, man. We're at like 57 minutes or so. So, you can follow us on Twitter at PETM Podcast and on Periscope and everything else as long as we keep doing it in my house. We'll see how long that lasts. But I'm having a blast, man. So, you can follow me at Tailgate Mayor. Once again, at Tailgate Mayor, I'm Rusty Wallace. And photo show, this is Andrew Sherwin. My personal Twitter is at Pregame Engineer, Pregame ENG. I'm doing the Twitter and the Periscope and the Instagram thing. And let's kick it on over to Mrs. Tailgate Mayor.
I'm at the Prince 11, but I tweet nerd stuff, so follow them instead.
Hey, we're nerds too. So, hey, if we can cross the swords.
Don't cross the
of nerd. Yeah, you're not supposed to cross swords.
We'll talk to y'all next week.
I think Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray said don't cross the swords, right? Thumbs up, y'all!